kindness notebook, loss of privileges, and then a check-in, check-out procedure so to keep kids on task. So teachers who use restorative discipline practices find that behavior in the classroom improves dramatically, and they have better relationships with their students and therefore less stress from the unresolved conflicts. And it's really great. Last year we had an experience at Giles School with a more veteran teacher, and it was really great when they were coming out with a restorative justice approach to right the wrong of the situation. So this is not new, but it's new in our district, and so I think everyone is doing a great job moving forward and implementing it and getting everyone on board. And then finally, we've gone through and tried to find, because one of the questions is, what is restorative justice? When I say I'm the restorative justice dean, what does that mean? And so we found this video. It's a very short video, but this really sums up what restorative justice is. So we would like to share this very quick video with you.
Restorative justice represents a paradigm change from thinking about justice as a mechanism for social control to think about justice as a mechanism for social engagement. We know that people that are engaged in healthy ways, socially and emotionally, make better decisions. And so restorative justice seeks to be socially and emotionally intelligent justice. The one way to think about how restorative justice differs from a criminal justice process is the questions we ask. So in a criminal justice process, we ask the question, what happened? Who did it? What do they deserve? In a restorative justice process, we ask a different set of questions. We said, what happened? Whose obligations are these? And what do we need to do to right the wrongs? But we know that injustice creates social emotional harms to people and relationships. And so restorative justice is about repairing those relationships and repairing the harm done. An important part of our restorative justice process is we ask people, how are you affected? And we don't ask those questions in a criminal justice process. We focus on the facts. So we know that victims' voices are not heard strongly in a courtroom. Victims' voices are heard strongly in a restorative justice process. So what we know, the victims who participate in the restorative justice process, they're more satisfied. Their satisfaction in the justice system is increased. They're less likely to seek revenge, following the injustice. We also know that their experience of post-traumatic stress is greatly reduced. Participation in the restorative justice process, while it takes great courage to come face-to-face with the person that's offended you, has huge social emotional benefits. People go back to work. They don't have that fear every time they go by the place where the offense occurs. So injustice is a very visceral feeling, and restorative justice, because it's emotionally intelligent, repairs that visceral aftermath that we hold within us when we experience injustice. Any place where relationships matter, people benefit from restorative justice. In our families, in our workplaces, in our communities, having the skills and the framework to think about resolving conflict. And conflict is a normal part of life. It can either shut us down or it can provide us an opportunity to learn and grow and better understand each other. And that's what restorative justice is.
That's our presentation. We'd like to thank everyone for allowing us this opportunity. If you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to address any questions that you might have.
I have a question. What process do you have in place to roll this information out to the parents of the students that attend both Lee and Giles?
So we're working on redoing the student and parent handbook. We want to include all the information in there. Especially with this new Senate Bill 100, all of that information has do want to include a lot of this information. That's our first step, at least, for getting some of the information out.
I think it's critical that a parent understand that if their child does something that's inappropriate at the school, that they understand what the punishment or the course of correction is going to be, so, I totally support rolling that out and getting parents more involved and understand what our restorative process is.
I will say that from personal experience, when a child has been involved in the restorative justice, parents are included in every part of it. The school contacts you, you are encouraged to come to the meetings, to discuss it, to come up with a plan. I mean, it's very inclusive, and it truly does change the effect of being punitive to being meaningful. It's not just a blanket punishment. You do X, you get Y. It's definitely a more meaningful process, and it is a process. And that, I think, also helps educate the families, the students, the teachers, the parents in the steps of making things better so that it's not repeated.
You bring up a very, very good point, because it's a process. It's not a 10-minute conversation, here's a consequence, and then we move on. I mean, this can take days, this can take weeks. I mean, we want to make sure by the end that everyone feels comfortable, feels safe, and feels like they have a full understanding of what they need to do. So when they're ever in a situation like this, maybe not the exact same situation, but another conflict comes to them, they have those resources and a new way of thinking. How can I, what decision can I make? Do I make the wrong decision, the right decision? So hopefully they'll make that correct decision and move forward. So that is our goal. So it's a process that takes place.
But I think if parents know what our process is and what restorative justice is, me as a parent, I can have that conversation with my children before the start of the school year or during the school year, telling them, hey, you do this, this is the type of consequences you're going to have down the line. And I think that's important for parents to all be involved and know what those types of consequences could be for their children if they act out of that, little circle that sometimes kids do.
You might be able to put something, I don't know, maybe more or less on the website, because this was 2 years ago when we had this class, right? We had it for the last year for the 4 hours or whatever. Yeah, I was there. But for it and everything, I know that he had the list, a short list, and maybe if we were able to put that out somewhere on the webpage in there so that the parents could take a look at it and see. I mean, at least they'll have a point to go to it. Because right now it'd be too much to publish all that and give it out to them, but at least if we have it out there on there, they have it on the webpage for them now, they could at least, we could refer them to it.
I have some helpful resources on my webpage on the section that is for restorative justice data, good short articles, and we could probably include some resources in the handbook as we go to find out more.
Yeah, because what was it, the gentleman from Rockford, the superintendent or principal from Rockford and everything gave it throughout the country.
I think it would be great for parents to have just as many resources as the teachers do, because they're even great things to use at home. With between siblings having a behavior contract, if they're fighting all the time, or things you used to go through with your child. So I think it's great. It would be a great idea to have access. Parents have access to those things too.
It is. As a father of 4, I use it on my children.
So, I have a question. So it's a simple question, because when I was in school, if you did something really bad, you went to the principal's office, and then whatever happened after that. Suspension, I was never there. But how do you control all that? So a teacher experiences 2 kids fighting, for example.
We actually have a flow chart that we created, so that we gave to teachers, and it kind of maps out these are the kinds of behaviors that a teacher should deal with or try to handle within the classroom. These are the kinds of behaviors that you would refer to administration or a restorative justice team. And here's kind of like the in-between where you may want to work on it first as a teacher and then maybe refer out. So it is very black and white for teachers to be able to see which kinds of behaviors belong, when to refer. And we also kind of made
there, and who's taking care of them, and how long are they taking?
Yeah, 'cause-
So like the team at Giles, we have one document that we all use, the team at Lee, we have the one document, Giles has one document.
Plus, whatever decisions are made, all that information is shared with the principal.
Right. I can see how quickly with even with the co-teaching model, like, a teacher can maybe take 2 students to the side, quickly maybe work it out, but then once they go to the principal or to, then they would decide whether they're going to put into a program or from there. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I mean, we sit there and we go through and we try to figure out exactly what happened. We talk to the teacher, we talk to the student, if there's any witnesses, depending on the situation. We interview everyone that we can get that's involved in the situation, and then we discuss it with them, and then we kind of go along with the board policy and also the ISBE policies, so that we're within our rights. But we want to make sure, in the end, we want to make sure whatever punishment or consequence is delivered, we want to make sure that they have a full understanding and that it does not happen again in the future.
The way it might flow, something might happen in the classroom or let's say lunch. Right. And the lunch supervisors or the teacher talks to the kids about it and then if it feels like it's over and done and we're good, that might end right there. Right. If it feels like we need more, they'll come talk to either Ingrid or to I or to Brittany and say, hey, this is what happened today. I think we need to go deeper with these kids. And then, one of us right now, a lot of it's Ingrid, is then meeting with them, like finding time in her time and the students' time to sit down and have a pretty lengthy conversation about what's going on so that they could mitigate anything happening in the future.
We do like that. Yeah, and I would say we do like to have teachers involved in that too, and being able to step in even before they would go to restorative justice game, because I think it's important for the students to build that relationship with the teacher, and that is a huge part of restorative justice, is building trust in a relationship. So that's why we give the teachers access to all like the think sheets and the menu of options that they can choose from, so they can implement some of those things themselves too before they refer either to a dean or a principal.
Sure, so a teacher might come up to us and say, I did this and I did this and I did this, and I'm still having.
So would it be like go to see the dean, like
sure.
room 104?
Like what would be an example?
Huh?
Well, we certainly never.
I'm just asking.
That,
no,
but,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm just wondering how it works.
The old days are
Is it
gone.
the teacher engages, or is it the go see this person? You tell the student they go.
It depends on the
It
situation.
depends on the situation, yeah.
Okay.
But the teacher might say, I've come and tried these things and now, where should we go?
Just to follow up on that, so let's make a couple of assumptions. You have a student that is aggressively getting more, the infraction is getting larger and larger.
Sure.
At what point will you use a out-of-school suspension, and at what point would you use a recommendation for expulsion?
That's something we are working on too in our restorative justice committee meetings, is trying to differentiate, when would that become something more serious? Because we really try not to use suspensions if we don't have to. So some of the things you're talking about were like serious sexual harassment. That would be, a consideration for a suspension. Violence, getting in a, sometimes in cases with fist fights or, getting in physical altercations.
Drugs, alcohol.
Drugs and alcohol, bringing a weapon to school, those kinds of things would be more likely to be an automatic.
Sexual harassment.
Like illegal things.
Yeah.
I didn't hear bullying.
I think it's automatic suspension, but it's more if there's fear of harm to children is what we go off of. You could have a fight that might happen, that those two kids are actually, like, for lack of better words, got it out and it's over, and you might look at it as school suspension. You might have a fight that happened that you're worried that might continue, and the safety of children are what's in question, and then you might look at an out-of-school suspension. So it all depends on each situation.
But you still have the ability for out-of-school suspension, and you still have the ability to make a recommendation of expulsion if it, heaven forbid, everything happens.
Absolutely.